Hello all you great people. Well, that was a whole lot better yesterday from Celtic, wasn't it? 5-1 over Kilmarnock, and we are firmly on the brink of 4 in a row. It could even happen later today. Let's talk about it. Just me today, but there is a hell of a lot to get through, everyone, so it's going to be a packed video. I do have a video sent in from GigPod's Reedzo, who's been on the channel a few times. His assessment of yesterday's game, he was there. Sadly, there's loud music over it, and I would risk a copyright strike from YouTube if I play it. But here he is. He's basically saying here that Reo Hatate was his man of the match. Celtic were pretty good. He even praised Liam Scales and Greg Taylor, so it must have been a good day. I'm pretty tempted to mimic his voice at this stage, I'll be honest, but I think I just have too much respect for him and all of you to give that a go. But thanks, I guess, Reedzo, for sharing your thoughts and looking good in that wee V-neck there. Today, loads happening. We're going to chat about the match. First of all, then I'll go into the league situation, what we need to happen to win the league. It's quite simple, but the top 6 has been confirmed as well, so we kind of know what the end of our season looks like. And also, as you'll gather from the title, some quotes from Brendan Rodgers after the game that have got people talking and have confirmed certain things. So we'll get to all that. First of all, though, yesterday, so much pre-match chat. I mean, I spoke in every video about it. It was a quiet week in the lead up to the game about the number of changes we'd see from the manager, and we ended up seeing 4 from the previous game, that shocker, away in Perth to St Johnstone. Liam Scales was in for Austin Trusty, Greg Taylor for Jeff Schlupp. Interestingly, the midfield stayed the same with McGregor, Hatate and Engels lining up and doing a lot better, I thought. James Forrest was in for Nicholas Kuhn on the right, while Adam Ida was up top with Diaz and Maida back on the left and Jota dropping out. And we got a hell of a reaction. You can't really argue with 4-0 up inside, 24 minutes. Kelly didn't really know what hit them. There's obviously so many players we can pick out, and I thought there was a general improvement in a number of players who have been underperforming in recent weeks, and there'd been calls from myself, to be honest, for Anthony Ralston to come in for Alistair Johnson. I didn't necessarily say Carter Vickers should drop out the team, but certainly people have been questioning Carter Vickers' recent form, I think rightly so. Arnie Engels would be another one, Reo Hatate. And I think, to be honest, those players that the manager kept in his team yesterday, and he did only make 4 changes, I thought we saw a massive improvement. Alistair Johnson was like his old self, bombing up that wing for the second goal in particular. Cameron Carter-Vickers had a really solid game, was doing his old mopping up at the back, looking solid, and clearly scored the goal of the century. We had Reo Hatate, who was possibly man of the match. I think most people gave it to Greg Taylor. And Arnie Engels was pretty good as well. Looked quite fired up yesterday, Engels as well. He had one in the first half where he kind of barged into, Donnelly, who's a bit of a dirty player. So I liked that moment. And even in the second half, kind of the only real chance we had in the second half, other than the goal with virtually the last kick, when Engels clips the crossbar, he looked visibly angry and frustrated after that not going in. So I think he had a real hunger to his game yesterday. So I thought there was a real improvement in players who have been underperforming in recent weeks and could have potentially dropped out the team. The manager stuck with them, and I think we saw an improvement there. Some players did drop out the team, though. I've already mentioned them, and I did think it was notable yesterday that the manager kind of went back for experience and I guess the old guard to an extent, players who have been at Celtic for a number of years and have really set the standard in recent years, some slightly longer than others, but players who know what's expected at Celtic and have kind of driven standards in recent years. So obviously I'm talking about Greg Taylor. He'd be an obvious one. We come on and talk about him. Callum McGregor, while he wasn't back in the team or anything, was certainly a lot more like himself yesterday. And James Forrest was another one. Would James Forrest even have started on the right-hand side had Yang been available? I think not. I think Yang would probably have come in for Kuhn, but obviously Yang I think is going to miss a couple of weeks now. James Forrest started the game, and James Forrest was brilliant, like so easy on the eye. I remember like watching when he first came through, and he's always been a talent, but maybe at times when he was first coming through, can it be a bit erratic, would kind of slash at things occasionally and do some things really well and then other things not so well. But these days, like, he's just so polished when you watch him. Like, he's actually like so easy in the eye. Some of the flicks, some of the one-touch things he was doing yesterday. I don't think he took 2 touches to do anything yesterday, James Forrest. I think that's exactly what was required from the team yesterday after so many like laboured performances in recent weeks where players have taken so much time and it's been really slow and far too methodical. Yesterday there was a freedom about the way we played, and I thought James Forrest was one who summed that up. That flick he has for the second goal is just like beautiful. It's a really simple thing, but he knew exactly where Arnie Engels was behind him. Work of art. So I thought he was great, continually underrated by the Celtic support. I think that's fair to say. I thought James Forrest was great, and I hope we see more of him going forward. McGregor was running the game again, and I mean literally running. Like, he was kind of everywhere in that first half. We were getting Callum McGregor galloping into space again, which is something we've not seen in recent weeks. It's been kind of more defensive from McGregor, more cluttered in midfield. It felt like we had more space in there. And I thought just generally the midfield functioned a lot better yesterday. It looked energetic, vibrant, whereas in recent weeks it's felt really stale. And to be honest, I think a big part of the midfield looking so good was Greg Taylor. Now, he got the Man of the Match award from Sky Sports. He wasn't put up for interview, he was unavailable for interview and to collect his award. And I think we all know the reason for that. It seems very much like Greg Taylor's going to be leaving the club. Side note, lovely moment before the game to have him carrying out his daughter, which was lovely scenes. And he had a great game, Greg Taylor. For me, he was man of the match. I know most people, I think, would agree with that, but there was lots of contenders in the match. His ability to play in midfield and pop passes off and be available for passes is very obvious. Now, as I always say, I don't have too much of a tactical football brain. I'm not one of these guys who generally looks at things and goes, oh, that's exactly why that's happened. I don't tend to do that. But one thing that was pretty obvious to me watching, and it's just an example, the second goal that we scored, Greg Taylor's position, and this is where he was playing for the vast majority of the game yesterday, in the centre of the park there, right next to the referee, John Beaton, and he's available there as the ball goes into Rio Hatate. He's available for a pretty straightforward pass round the corner from Hatate, and suddenly Celtic are breaking into the final third, and it ends up to Forrest, to Engels, to Johnson, to Maida at the back post. And it did occur to me, looking at that goal and thinking, like, if Jeff Schlupp was involved in that, he's probably standing out on the touchline in a more traditional left-back position, and the ball's getting knocked into Hatate, and then it's probably coming back out to Maida, and Celtic are nowhere near as threatening in that position. Taylor acts basically as an extra midfielder, and he's become very good at it. We all know he's got certain weaknesses in his game, but he also has real strengths. And I think in games like yesterday, home games and domestically, when he can act as that extra midfielder and just be an extra option for players to bounce the ball in and off, etc., then it really works. And Taylor was everywhere yesterday, and he does look really keen to finish his career, if it is the end, which it seems it will be, finish his career really strongly at Celtic, and that can be quite a motivating thing. We had that last year with Joe Hart, and I know that was a bit different because that wasn't just the end of his days at Celtic, it was his whole career. But I think Taylor's been a really good player for Celtic overall. No doubt he's contributed to our success in the last 5-6 years, however long he's been at the club. And he will want to finish the season strongly. And I think that can be really powerful. So I thought he was great yesterday. Great to see him and Dyson back on the left-hand side as well. A bit of a throwback there. And yeah, I think a bit of a reminder as well that Dyson will be fine wherever you put him. I mean, there's a lot of chat, and I've been a big part of it as well on this channel. You know, Dyson's a striker now. You have to keep him as a striker because he's been so effective as a forward in recent weeks. But then you see him on the left yesterday, and he still scores a goal, and a second goal that's chalked off for offside. And by the way, I thought that was extremely marginal. And he has other chances where one at the end of the first half where I think Engels puts a corner in and he just misses it at the back post. I think the main thing is having Daizen Maeda at the club next year. If he's in the left wing, he's going to score. I think he could score 30 goals next season. If he's up front, he could score 30 as well. So I'm really relaxed about Daizen. He's just a joy to watch wherever he is. The quality of our goals was brilliant yesterday as well. It was one of those days where it felt like everything was going in the first half. We had a game earlier in the season over the kind of December, I think it was December, against Ross County, where we're 5-0 up at half-time. And it was one of those days where everything was going in. I think Callum McGregor maybe scored a screamer. I think Adam Ida, certainly I remember him scoring a screamer. And it felt like that yesterday. Hatate's goal is a cracker. The second goal is about as good a team goal as you're going to see Celtic scoring. The fourth goal was good as well and finished really nicely by Real Hatate. But that third goal from Cameron Carter-Vickers is, I think, legitimately one of the best long range Celtic goals I've ever seen. The one and we've obviously scored a fair few of them over the years, but the one I was thinking of when that one went in yesterday was one actually against Kilmarnock as well. Kieran Tierney scored in the League Cup, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 years ago. Long range goal where he kind of similarly, I think a little bit further out than Carter-Vickers, but he was coming on and players were backing off and he just thought, I'm going to whack this. And from the left-hand side with his left foot, completely thumped it into the top corner. And Carter-Vickers yesterday was just so good. It was like at the instep he hit it with, wasn't it? It was a kind of strange strike, but just one of those you could watch time after time, just so easy on the eye, watching that one fly into the back of the net. Maybe one downside you would look at from the first half, it's probably the only one I can think of, is that Adam Ida, despite us playing so well, still seemed to have a bit of a frustrating time. I don't think he was horrendous. There was some things bouncing off and we made a good few runs, but things weren't really quite coming off for him. The amount of times he ran through and like the pass was just a little bit heavy or he wasn't quick enough to get onto it and the goalkeeper came out, and even refereeing decisions were going against him. There was one at the start of the second half, you'll probably remember, where he does really well and wins the ball back, a wee shoulder challenge and strong play, and John Beaton gives a free kick, and it was never a free kick, and Ida was incredulous, and Brendan Rodgers, I think John Kennedy as well, were unhappy. So just wee things just like that, even when he does something good, it kind of goes against him. So he can't feel sorry for himself. He needs to keep putting himself into positions. I know there's a fair bit of doubt about Adam Ida. It's tough for him at the moment. I still think there's a player there to work with. But that was a downside. I think yesterday we played so well and still he had a bit of a tough time. I think overall a disappointing second half, just considering how good the first half was. Watching the game, it did occur to me, it was kind of like our entire season in microcosm in terms of really fast start, great stuff, everyone enjoying themselves, kind of doing the business and inside the first half and achieving all our goals, which we kind of did with the Premiership this season inside the first half of the season. And then the second half, a bit of a tough follow-up act and not quite as good and just kind of, not quite at that same level like it was in the second half yesterday. And then potentially a late flourish. We certainly got that yesterday through Anthony Ralston, which was a great finish from him. And potentially, maybe I'm getting a wee bit excited here with the metaphors, if it even is a metaphor, but potentially a late flourish to the season for Celtic. Was yesterday the start of a really strong finish to the campaign? Because what we saw inside the first half an hour was like as good as we've played in a number of months, I would say. Yeah, we didn't reach that level later on in the game, but it was still a good performance, I thought. It was still good to watch the team. We just lacked that cutting edge that we'd had later on. But Kilmarnock also were out in the second half, made a few changes and were trying to avoid an utter mauling. I mean, I thought at one stage when we're 4-0 up after 24 minutes, I mean, 10 is on your mind, isn't it? Well, I don't know if it's on your mind. It was certainly on my mind that could be the day, because I felt there was just going to be that, after the way recent weeks have gone and the criticism from last week, I felt there was going to be a relentless attitude yesterday and we'd just keep firing on the goals. Didn't quite work out like that, but equally I'm glad we got that late goal to make it 5-1, because I think we deserved at least that. So yeah, a very enjoyable game yesterday. I was able to watch it here on Sky Sports thanks to our very good friends at NordVPN. Now, VPN stands for Virtual Private Network. It secures your connection, protecting your personal information and online activity, especially on public Wi-Fi. A VPN, and this is a key feature, can also make your phone or laptop appear like it's in another country, making it great for accessing content while travelling and feeling like you're at home even when you're away from home. So if you're heading on holiday anytime soon and want to still be able to enjoy your normal streaming options, then please check out NordVPN. We have 74% off NordVPN's 2-year plans plus 3 extra months at the moment if you use our link. There's also a 30-day money-back guarantee involved, so you can't lose out at all. NordVPN.com/CelticAM, and the link is in the description as well. So yeah, a really good reaction from the team yesterday, and hopefully we can just kick on from there. In terms of where it leaves us in the league, where we are now, like, we can say we're on the brink of winning 4 in a row. We're now 16 points clear of our nearest challengers, Rangers. Even if they win their final 6 games of the season, that will move them on to 83 points. We have 81 at the moment, meaning one more win will do it for us. If Rangers lose at Aberdeen later today, we will be champions today. If they don't lose later today at Aberdeen, we should win the league next time out in a couple of weeks' time. The top 6 was confirmed yesterday. Well done to St Mirren for making it. Commiserations to Hearts and Motherwell for missing out. And it kind of means that our fixtures are pretty straightforward, or in theory they should be. There'll be no need for like flipping games like you often get in the split. We'll be due Hibernian and St Mirren at Celtic Park, so Trophy Day will be against either Hibernian or St Mirren, and we'll have 3 away games, Rangers, Dundee United and Aberdeen. So as much as the league is soon to be over, still some very exciting games to go between now and the end of the season. Right, on to some comments from Brendan Rodgers, interesting ones. Fair bit of speculation in recent weeks over whether he's going to be our manager next season. To be honest, I've always thought that kind of chat's a bit overblown. I think generally we're in a good place under Brendan Rodgers. It's been a good season. I mean, Europe was excellent. We're on course to win the treble. Like, we've had far worse seasons at Celtic. I just think we've been through a fair bit of a dip in recent months that the manager's clearly not happy with and is trying to sort at this stage. But I think generally things are good. On Friday, Brendan Rodgers was speaking about complacency and things going a bit flat, and he made the comment saying that basically you need a new squad and freshness in the squad, or you need a new manager to guard against complacency. And again, that got people chatting, oh, is this Brendan hinting at him wanting to leave? Well, it turns out no, because he was very firm after the game yesterday and saying what's happening. Quoted as saying, "I was just asked a question. But for any avoidance of doubt, because I was surprised when I got asked the question, I think if you were sat at my press conference here on the very first day I arrived, I promised unless I was removed, I'd be here for 3 years minimum. So nothing changes. There's absolutely no doubt. Unless Dermot tells me differently in the summer, I will be excited and ready for the beginning of the season." He also spoke on the same topic to the BBC after the game, saying, "There's no message. To avoid any doubt, I will be here next season, 150%. 150%, that's a new one. We've all heard 110%, 1,000,000%. 150% is a new one. He's certainly very confident he's going to be here next season. That is going to be the case. He's clearly not going to be sacked. And he's going to be here next season. I'm happy about that. I think there's a conversation to be had after next season. And it's always kind of worth remembering in your head. I think Brendan Rodgers, the track record, and he's a great manager and has had success everywhere he's gone. But things, maybe after a couple of years, do then tend to maybe go a little downhill and certainly not be quite as good as they were over the first couple of years. So potentially it is a thought I've had that maybe 3 years might be the right amount of time. Brendan wins the treble this season, maybe wins the treble or even a double next season, certainly wins the league, and we see further success in Europe, and maybe he departs at that stage and I think goes down as one of the greatest Celtic managers in history. Don't think you could argue it at that stage. And then potentially the club going a new direction at the end of next season after another great 3 years. Potentially that's what happens. Certainly for next season, that's who I want in the dugout. His track record domestically, you can't argue with it at all. And this season we saw real improvement in Europe. We're a joy to watch in Europe on the most part. So I think this is really good news. And yeah, we'll see what happens going forward. One other wee thing I just wanted, actually 3 wee things. Some stats from yesterday that caught my attention. The match stats from Sky Sports were pretty interesting. Let me draw your attention to possession, 87%, Killy with 13. What did we have against Barca the night we beat them? I think it's down to like 4% at this stage. It just goes down every time you talk about it. But yeah, the passes. 1,020 passes made by Celtic yesterday. That's the most we've ever had in a game since records began. I think there's a fair chance it's the most Celtic have ever had in a game, full stop, just given how much passing is involved in football these days. And there's so many like short passes yesterday, so no real surprise to hear that, but I guess it shows how polished a performance it was yesterday. Also, Dyson Maeda has now scored in 8 consecutive home starts for Celtic, equaling a record held by Henrik Larsson. Worth saying that this is just starts. People have been saying, it's 8 appearances in a row at Celtic Park. He didn't score in the 3-0 win over Dundee United in, I think, February. Came on as a sub that day. But in terms of starts for Celtic at Celtic Park, Dyson Maeda has scored in his last 8, including Bayern Munich. So pretty cool stuff. Final stat I want to bring up, we've now scored 2 or more goals in our last 23 league games at Celtic Park. This goes back to a 1-1 draw you may remember we had with Kilmarnock last season. Kind of really bleak moments. Stevie was looking pretty gutted outside Celtic Park that day.
Clearly I've got issues, but so did a team, so does our manager.
How things change. He's now a beacon of positivity at all times. We love Stevie, he's a hero. But yes, since then, 23 home league games, Celtic have scored at least 2 in every one of them. And to be honest, we've probably scored at least 3 in the vast majority of them. The form at home has been amazing this year. It was great again yesterday. Let's just finish the season strongly away from Celtic Park as well, because that's where some of the issues have been. Okay, lots of ground covered today. Really appreciate you all watching, and hopefully you've enjoyed the video. If you have, please consider liking the video. Please consider subscribing to the channel. It really does make a difference. And yeah, we'll get on with our Sunday. Fair few of you might be watching the game at lunchtime up at Pittodrie. A final reminder that if Aberdeen beat Rangers, we'll be champions today. So yeah, we could be champions by the time I do a video tomorrow. That'd be fun.